I'm really excited today to have George Nemus from Memphis Brow Attorneys of Law with us. George has agreed to come on and talk about the COVID factor and how it's impacted his world. Full disclosure, George is a sponsor and panelist for our upcoming roadmap event on September the 23rd. So thanks for being here, George.
No, thank you, Larry. I appreciate you asking.
I hope everybody is well in your world and that the COVID situation hasn't impacted you too negatively.
No, thank you. No, everybody's happy, healthy. Well, happy is a relative word these days. We're pleased to be able to say that all of our employees, staff, partners, and associates have weathered through the storm to this point in time, free and clear of any of the ramifications that we're reading so much about in the news.
Sure.
For us, teleworking has been very successful. Today, the way law firms generally practice, it does lend itself well to being in a situation where you can telework. Zoom has been, and Zoom, Skype, Microsoft Office teaming has been a wonderful tool for us to enable our team to constantly not only stay in touch, but to frankly have some interaction on a day-to-day basis. We here at the firm have actually instilled a end of the day, all hands video conference to enable everybody to look at each other, talk, share some ideas about what they're working on, as well as candidly just joke around a little bit and get some of that, some of that camaraderie and interaction that you get when you're in the same office day to day, and there's that flow and you feel the energy. I think that's probably been the biggest hurdle for us.
It's a common theme at this point for most businesses. So give me a little background in terms of Memphis Brow. How did it evolve? What's your background? And what do you think are some of the sweet spots for Memphis Brow?
Sure. Nemus Brow is a business boutique law firm focusing on general corporate, M&A, private equity, venture, startups, independent sponsors, as well as intellectual property and government affairs. Those would be the general areas that we're practicing in, a lot of subsets that you would find underneath all that. We are founded by two former big firm lawyers. We decided that the best thing to do was to take our shtick and repackage it into something that our clients have been asking for, and specifically high-end, high-quality, extraordinarily sophisticated legal work in these practice areas, but without the big monolithic overload of costs, expenses, as well as the feeling that you can get by being with a much larger law firm of some distance between your advisor and you, the client. We've structured ourselves in a way in which we are very proactive with our clients. We are part of their day-to-day discussions without the monolithic price tag that would come with that. We are advisors first. We view ourselves as, if you will, the conductor of the orchestra rather than, a flautist or a violinist or a member of the percussion. Our clients view us as part of their team, as an extension of them. And that was really the thing that drove Memphis Brow to being created.
Let's move to a rich topic, which is on top of mind for everybody right now. The next section of the interview really is two sections. One, what's been the impact of the COVID factor in your world, specifically around mergers and acquisitions, equity funding, venture capital. And then behind that is really, so what strategies have evolved for you in those sectors as you move forward? So we can handle that one at a time, or you're pretty adept. You can flow right from one to the other if you like. So
sure.
Have at it.
I will actually say it's from the very beginning, it was pretty clear that we were headed into a multi-step process. The market was going to react one way in the beginning, another way halfway through this 8, 9 week shutdown, and then is now just beginning to figure out how to react as places are starting to open up. And what does that mean? In the very beginning, it was bets off. I mean, everybody was like, time out, flag on the field, pause. And even though there was this pause, there was still an undercurrent. You could feel it. And the conversations that were being had were, of a nature that it was clear that people weren't going to allow the situation to beat them down. They knew they had objectives. They knew they had things to do. It was a question of how were you going to be able to get to your finish line for those objectives and get the projects done that you wanted to be accomplished, completed. So I really do believe that first month of this pandemic, our clients and the market was taking a time out in the beginning to reset, get their head straight, make sure everybody was okay, and then begin the process of how are we going to work in this new normal, at least for a period of time. And we had several matters ongoing for clients. Some of them were your standard day-to-day corporate work. Some of them were financial transactions. I mean, we had bank financings. We had, private equity and venture financings that had started and were at some point during the process when everything was put on hold. And then we also had M&A that was just kicking into gear. So it was interesting to watch. The common theme of all of them was, let's take a breath. We're not hitting pause, but we're going to figure this out, and we're going to have to restructure the manner in which we proceed. And specifically in M&A, we did see a few acquisitions take a timeout. I want to call them a timeout because they're starting to pick back up, or there's discussions again about what that means. But then there were some M&A transactions that we were already involved in and working towards that I would say downshifted out of third or fourth gear into first or second. And it wasn't so much that they were questioning the underlying premise of why they were doing the transaction. It was more of, okay, can we get this transaction done within the time period in which we believe we wanted to get it done? And if we can't, what is the effects on this for us going forward? Plus, let's be candid, our access to the target or our access to the buyer just became more problematic than ever. We are now we were in two transactions where they were beginning the process of doing quality of earning reviews with the accounting firms, where they were seeking to go in as a first step to review the financials and audits. Well, quite frequently, like any auditor, they go on site. It's gone. No more on site.
Right.
So, there's a lot more data being passed electronically. I mean, the market had moved that way to begin with for quite some time, but the ability to have access to the underlying work papers and the data collection and the individuals involved had just been shut down. So
it's amazing. Let me just interrupt for a second. It's amazing. It's just something that I completely would have no awareness of. So, you can look at all the service businesses that have been impacted by distance, whether it's barbers, tailors, but now, add to that the pile of what you're talking about, which is having to access records and have to have physical proximity to have those records to maintain confidentiality and see what's actually going on. It's interesting.
Yeah, I mean, look, a fair amount of due diligence and review is all electronic. You've got data rooms, you've got the ability to transfer financial files from one system to another. But at the end of the day, the access to the individuals inputting the information and the work papers and the behind the scenes documents, or just the human contact, it makes the pandemic shut it down. If you're a buyer, yeah, you're buying the business, but the business is not only ones and zeros and dollar signs, but it's also the people running the business and the
Yeah,
people in the different divisions. And if you can't get access to them to really sit down and get to know them or talk to them or shape them, size them up, you're
sure.
going to slow down. So I would say from an M&A standpoint, overall, the speed in which things were getting done, it didn't come to a grinding halt, but definitely went on coast for a while. You could feel if you equate it to an automobile, you could feel the automobile coming to a rolling stop, but not quite stopping, and then pick back up. I feel like we have now we're picking back up stage. We have several transactions that I would say was coming to a rolling stop, and now it's like, okay, we're hitting the gas. Don't put the pedal to the metal. We're more deliberate in the timing of each step today, rather than legal, go do this, accounting, go do this. You two talk and come back to us. Now it's like, get the financial done a little bit farther. Legal, hang back, but help the financial on any contracts or documentation. And as we get closer to saying, yeah, we're good, legal, you're going to start to pick up the pace. And so we are seeing that. Interestingly,
So from a project management standpoint, there's been a shift in how you approach the timeline of things.
Yeah, and there definitely is. Every deal is different, so project management fluctuates. It's a little bit different here, a little bit different there, but generally speaking, you got a toolbox, you have the tools, you kind of know which one you're going to pick up first and how you're going to do it. During this pandemic, we've seen a lot of push-pull between buyers and sellers. The buyer wanting to proceed looks at the company and the target and may think, am I getting what I thought I was buying? Is my purchase price now valid against what I'm going to end up getting when we come out of the pandemic? Sellers have the same concern. Am I the same company? Will I be the same company? And does that mean I'm now going to be headed towards extended negotiations over pricing, terms, conditions, because I'm not the same company I was 3 weeks ago, 4 weeks ago, 8 weeks ago, right? But I feel like as a company, I'm going to be that company again come the fall, or maybe in 2 months or a month. So am I selling too soon, or am I not getting credit for what I should get?
Sure.
And so there's this push-pull. And the advisors have trying to step in with some creative solutions that aren't really natural to the process. Things that are occurring, especially when investment bankers are around and bidders are dropping off, and an investment banker comes back and says, well, we would like to give you semi-exclusive rights to try to come to a deal. We're going to stop the process, but not take down the data room. And we're going to tell the other bidders that we're pausing, but give you a moment, a couple weeks to see if you can come to a position. And if you can't, then we're going back out. That's not quite right. Recently, we actually have one where the investment banker said, hey, we think we're coming out, our client's coming out of this. So we narrowed it down to 2 of you. We're willing to pay for some of your due diligence over the next 30 days. And once that happens, we will then ask you for final bids because we think we're coming out of it. And we don't want to sell ourselves short before we come out of it. So it's semi-exclusive. It's a semi full due diligence and negotiation, but it's not asking for anything from the final bidder until after more is done, so they can get a best and final based upon new revised numbers. So we are seeing this push and pull requiring buyers and sellers to be a little more flexible in how they approach the transaction in the beginning, but you can feel it and you can hear from sellers how they don't like it. They say, well, I'm going to waste my energy and I may not get it. Yeah, you're going to reimburse me, but I don't like the fact that I'm now beating my head up against another guy. And then you get sellers who are saying, I really want to do this transaction. I really want to, for all the reasons I wanted to do it from the beginning, but now I'm worried that I'm not going to get what I want to get. And I really don't want to restructure the deal to be an earn out or take back paper or any of this other stuff to try to bridge the gap. So we're seeing some pressures there. Transactions that started before, they're moving along. It's just at a much reduced pace.
You know what, and really the point that I get from this and other conversations that I've had is there's been a huge disruption in the normal way of doing business, and people are starting to have to innovate and get creative to keep deals together. Sellers have to reconcile certain things. Buyers have to reconcile a lot of things as well, and it creates this opportunity in some ways to figure out what are new ways of getting things done, because the environment's changed so dramatically over the last 3 months. So
Yeah.
are there any specific strategy? You've kind of mentioned it a little bit. Any specific strategies that you could kind of pinpoint that you think will maintain themselves over the next period of time?
I think we're going to see buyers and sellers have to be extremely flexible. I think that we will see, I think we'll start to see conceptual ranges in purchase prices going in for a while. Look, this is what we intend to pay. However, based upon these items up front, telling them, here's your color on the purchase price up front. It generally happens and everybody pushes and pulls anyway, but getting into it up front, saying we're going to have a collar. I think acquisitions will take longer. I mean, just throwing bodies at data and throwing bodies at transactions isn't going to work that much anymore because of what we're going through and the distance and all the other factors involved. So I think transactions will take longer. I think we will see valuations in different industries fluctuate wildly. I think wildly not being like, wow, but being more of, well, usually we can count on a 4 to 6.5 times revenue or EBITDA or 2 to 4 times on revenue in this industry. I think that's all going out the door.
Formulas are changing.
Yeah, I really think it's going to be more. I think it will be industry specific, but company tailored. People will look really hard at who are your customers or your clients, and how were they affected by the pandemic, and what's their road to recovery versus your competitor and their clientele mixture, and what the road for the recovery for their clientele is. So I do believe we're going to see a lot of fluctuations in that area. I think back in the late 90s, early 2000s, when we had a bust, the old adage of good deals will still get done will continue. I think we will see stronger deals enter the marketplace, more solid deals enter the marketplace, and that means more competition to obtain those deals. And I think the counter pressure against the natural rise in valuation, that situation will be nobody's 100% comfortable with where we're going yet and how we're going to get out of this. So I'm really not sure you're going to see big pops in valuations. I think you could potentially see more competition for really solid deals, but I don't think it's going to put pressure on the valuation because everybody is going to still be sitting back going, I don't know where this is going. And you may see sellers more willing to take, a portion of their consideration in earnouts, where they get paid over time if certain metrics hit. But then that opens up a whole new level of complexity and potential issues down the road, which is we could talk about for hours on end.
Right. So it all comes down to, we don't know.
Right. Really does. We don't know where we're going yet.
We don't know where we're going. You have some idea, you have some structures, but all the structures are changing, which creates, I'm sure, a dynamic workplace for you and many, many challenges for not only you, but your clients. So I'm really thankful for you spending some time with us today, George, and sharing some of your insights. And I really hope that everybody stays well, not only with your family, but Nemus Brow continues to grow and prosper through all this. And we'll be talking some more down the road as our event gets a little bit closer. So thanks for your time.
Thank you, Larry. Thank you for asking me to come on. And please, my best to you and your family and your team. Stay happy, stay healthy, stay positive. I keep telling, that's one of the things we end it with our clients is stay positive.